Hello and welcome to an episode of World of Darkness. In this episode, we will be doing a character creation sheet for World of Darkness Humans. Today I am joined by my sidekick,
Wonder Dog,
who doesn't look anything like a dog, though sometimes he does smell like a wet dog.
See, that's still kind of mean though.
But it's true.
Well, okay, I'll grant you that. Alright.
Anyway, in this series we will be going over the basic character creation for a World of Darkness series. Note your storyteller might change this for his stories or his campaigns as he wants.
As in all RPGs, whoever is running the game is God and should be worshipped as such.
Okay, so to begin with, let's pick a name. I think we're going to go with Stedwart.
I like Stedwart. Stedwart is an awesome name. Most definitely.
Let's go in Stedwart. My R looks stupid.
Yeah, that's a lot better than that ED.
ED. It fits. They're good together. Okay, let's see. How old should we make this guy? Let's go for about 35. Sound good to you?
Well, what's he doing? What's he done with his life so far? Has he accomplished all of that by the age of 35?
Yes.
Yes? Well, then 35 works.
Okay.
Middle age, so he can be married and have a mistress on the side.
He could have a good profession. He's gone through college. He might even have a master's degree.
Right. Could even possibly have his doctorate.
Yep. If he's in a profession that requires it.
Yes.
Okay, let's see. Who will be playing him? Let's see. He will be played in U2. YouTube will be the player. I should actually probably finish that before I move on.
That actually almost looks neat. You're learning how to write with paint.
Hey, I'm using a mouse.
Congrats.
Okay, for his concept, what will his concept be? What is the job? What has he done with his life? What is he doing?
He is a professor at Arkham University.
So we have a professor.
Yes.
So, is he the professor? Is he the head?
You know, that's actually... That's a good question. That's things that should be thought about beforehand.
Yes.
So, let us say that he is just a professor at Arkham University. He is not...
Do we know what he's the professor of?
Occult.
He is the professor of Occult. Now, this is all important because it will play a role later on. Now, in your minds, you're probably thinking, what does all this count for? What does all this matter? Well, plain and simple, it involves the game. It helps create the game and make the game fun.
We're making a character that the idea is he is living, breathing, and real within the world of darkness.
Yeah, if you want to just create a baseline, average character, you're not going to have fun. You can make a character that is yourself and have fun. You can make a character that's completely different than you and have fun.
Right,
but
you know, one time I played a woman in D&D.
Yeah, but you play a woman every couple of weeks IRL.
Not Burn, point, Noe.
Now, let's see here. Now we'll move on to the virtues and vices. This is rather unique. This is only really counts for humans. Everybody else has a different set.
Anybody really familiar with Catholicism can think of it in terms of the 7 holy virtues and the 7 deadly sins.
Yes. So the virtues will
literally
be charity, faith, fortitude, hope, justice, prudence, and temperance.
Wait, prudence?
Yes, prudence.
Okay.
Where the vices are envy, gluttony, greed, lust, pride, sloth, and wrath. So, this guy's a teacher. Let's see, how do we want him to be? Maybe he's kind of charitable. He's giving out information for a free, almost. Like, he's getting paid to do it, but he's giving out information. That's charity. But maybe he's hopeful in the next generation.
See, I would think hopeful would be better, too, because if you go charity, then you can't go greed.
Okay, so he's hopeful.
Greed is always a fun vice.
So he has the virtue of hope. This builds into a little bit, but we're not going to get into that on this video. Right now we're just building the character. We can talk about some of the more of the information about that a little bit later. Now for the vices, you said you liked greed.
Yes, greed's always fun. However, most likely, if he's a professor, he's not really going to be very
greedy. I mean, he's giving out information.
Yeah.
Although he might be kind of prideful.
Prideful?
I mean, he's being totally full of himself. I am the best professor. I know the best about my stuff. No one you ever see before or after me will be as smart as I am.
Going back to the joke earlier, though, too, if he's got a mischievous lust.
Yes, lust could be a good one.
Yes.
Let's go with lust. His virtue and hope gives him the chance.
He doesn't have to just lust for sex. I mean, he could lust for power or for knowledge.
Yes, but with his lust, hope, he could be hopeful that his lust happens, and hopeful that he doesn't get caught by whoever he's not supposed to be lusting after.
Yes.
Now for Chronicle, let's put this at...
Now, Chronicle is what story you're playing in. This is, in the World of Darkness, it's like a campaign. It's the collection of adventures that you and your group go on.
Yes, so for that, we're just gonna put this as YouTube.
It's the YouTube Chronicles of Xavier Stedwart.
Yes. Now, faction, he's a human. So, pretty much this would count for stuff that you're into. Do you belong to any faction? And you'd want to talk to your storyteller or game master about this, because similar to D&D deities, his story might have different factions, or completely remove the factions that you might be thinking of.
Precisely.
So we're going to leave that one blank. Just kind of put a dash through it. And group name. Well, the group name is what group you're in.
YouTube.
Yes, so we're just going to do YouTube again. One of these days I'm actually going to spell it properly.
As a side note, Noe, we probably should have done this in a little bit of a different order, because a lot of that stuff can be filled in after everything else.
Yes.
It makes a lot more sense to do it that way.
Yes, but the reason we did these first is because in the official character creations, they do suggest that you do this part first. When we do it for our games, we usually kind of mix it up a little bit, do it backwards. But again, we are trying to do it by the books a little bit to make sense for people who are getting into this series, maybe just now creating their first World of Darkness, or even first time storytelling jitters. They're kind of having a little bit of trouble showing their people how to make a character. So, hey, look at these videos that are on YouTube. Now, let's move on to attributes. Attributes are, as seen, your physical prowess, or actually physical prowess, mental prowess, and social prowess. They are separated by power. The intelligence is the power of your mental abilities. Strength is the power of your physical abilities, and presence is your social power. Whereas finesse, wit, is how fast you are, how smart, how quick you can think. Same with dexterity. And manipulation. How can you manipulate a conversation to go towards you?
And more than just speed, it is how accurate you are with your thinking, with your moving, and with manipulating people.
How agile you... Dexterity. In D&D, it's used for archery. And it's also used for thieves to be clumsy. You do a dexterity roll if you think you might be doing something clumsily. And then resistance. Resolve is how much of a mental punch in the face you can take. If you see a werewolf, will you go crazy because werewolves don't exist? Stamina, how much of a physical punch in the face can you take? And composure, if someone makes you look stupid, can you pick that back up? Now, I'm going to scroll down on the page a little bit, and you can see down here at the bottom, it has attributes are separated by how much? 5, 4, and 3. This means that you have a primary, a secondary, and a tertiary skill set. So, we're having a professor. Which ones do you think should be his primary?
Well, his primary would most likely be along his mental side. He is a professor, more specifically in his wits.
Okay, so 5.
However, perhaps we should honestly move that over so that he's got more of a social standing. Going with his hope, with his lust, virtue, and vice, yet again, he might be more worried about his social appearance. He's got mediocre intelligence. He's just the only professor of the occult willing to take the job.
Okay, so he had his social is 5. which puts his mental at 4 and his physical at 3. Now, as we were saying, his wit is where his strength lies. So, definitely putting a point in wit, maybe 2 points?
2 points? 2 points works.
2 points in wit. We're gonna go ahead and average out his intelligence. He's average, actually. If he is a teacher, he might be a little higher than average.
So let's go 3 intelligence, and we'll give him.
Yes. So this way, he has 3 intelligence and 3 wits.
Yes.
He's smarter than the average person, and he's quicker than the average person. But his resolve is so low because he's a teacher. What if it's not in the book? It doesn't exist.
Right.
It makes sense for the character. Now for strength, I'm thinking normal, like average.
Average strength, yeah.
So average everything for physical attributes sound good?
Yeah, honestly, I mean, why would he be working out? He's a bloody teacher.
Yeah, so he gets his average walk and stuff. He might be a coach of the football team, but he's not on the field with the football team. Now, so for his primary, he has presence, manipulation, and composure.
Well, he's going to be really good at manipulating people. He's a teacher. He forces the students to learn. He's really good at his job.
Okay.
His composure, I think, should probably be the next highest. Then he's a teacher. He doesn't really have much presence, no much force in his presence. While he's worried about his social standing, he's not very useful with his social standing.
Yeah, he's a teacher. He's working on a teacher's salary. He deals with kids all the time. He's going to be wearing a nice suit, so he'd be about average present. He's wearing nice clothes, but he's not exactly...
You're going to notice him. You're going to recognize him. You're going to be like, oh, he's clean cut. He's crisp looking. Maybe he's got a bit of swag about him.
But he's not looking like, oh, I should follow this guy into a random war because he is hotlicious.
Hotlicious.
It's a word. Now, for skills, basically the same thing. 11, 7, and 4. We're not going to talk about the specialties right now. Those are a little more advanced set, so although they're on this page, we're not going to talk about them because your storyteller might just remove them from the game. So, as before, mental, physical, and social. The 11, 7, 4. Which one's he good at? So, I would say for skills, he is a teacher, so he's gone through...
His mental skills are going to be way higher, specifically, and most especially, because his skills are he isn't a teacher of the occult, he's going to have a really high occult score.
Okay. Now, if you want to look at it, attributes are what you're naturally, born with, whereas skills are things you've learned and developed over time. So I'd put... definitely his physical is his lowest.
Right. And
that would put social at medium. So, he is a teacher of the occult. So, let's give him a couple of points in occult. Just...
Put him at... I would say, honestly, put him at, 4.
Yeah. So, we're at 4. 4 of the 7 gives us 7 points... Or, 4 of the 11 gives us 7 points of it left.
Yes.
Let's see. He's definitely got to be a teacher. He's a teacher, so he's gone through school.
Right. Now, this is where things are going to get tricky. We have 5 points left to spread around.
And we have
35. He might know some computer skills. He probably has basic computer skills.
Yeah, basic computer knowledge. So, could probably log into his email.
Yeah, log into his email. Knows how to run Word pretty well.
Yeah. Let's see here. I'm going to say medicine. He has some basic first aid.
You know what? I can work with that. Maybe he was a paramedic in college.
Yeah, or
to pay the bills.
Even just took a Red Cross first aid class.
Yeah,
it's basic. You can make rip a shirt and make a bandage. Everybody's seen MacGyver.
Right.
Especially he's 35. He was on while MacGyver was running. Let's see. Science would have a lot to do with the occult, trying to rationalize it. Actually, I might even go one more point in science.
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing. Giving him an extra point in science, I mean, he is a teacher, and he's going to be more logical-minded anyway.
Yes.
He just has the advantage of accepting the occult as real.
Yes. Now, if you notice, we don't just put a random point in occult, because the 5th point for both attributes and skills costs double at this point. So, at this phase, it would be very unwise.
at the same time, he may not have any direct experience to the occult to explain it without metagaming.
Yes, and metagaming, it was probably one of the worst things you can do at this moment. Pretty much, if you metagame, if you don't understand what that term means, it means you are doing things specifically to alter the game, like you're metagaming, you're altering the game specifically for your benefit. So you're taking
not necessarily.
Well, you're taking attributes or skills that would directly enable you to be stronger than you should be.
Metagaming could be said to is best, honestly, it's best put as you're combining your knowledge that you, as your own person, as the player, know, and you're giving it to the character that you're playing when he has no explainable reason within the premise of the story to know these things. Such as, oh look, I'm facing a vampire and he's got 5 bonus dots to his attack.
So I know not to get punched.
Yes.
Or in this term, it would be using your knowledge to build your character. Be like, hey, by the way, I think my character should be very good at this random thing that he would in no way have any way to do with his profession or his life. So we do have 1 dot left in mental, if I'm counting this right.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, we got 1 left.
Maybe he puts together the odd birdhouse or something.
Yeah, crafts. That sounds like an idea.
Okay.
Well, actually, though, let's take crafts off and let's put that in investigation.
Investigation?
Yes, because he studies everything. He has to study and he has to investigate, like, the occult stuff that he reads.
And he is into occult studies, so it would not be unheard of for him to be doing something like a ghost hunter's expedition or something. Okay, makes sense. Now, for physical. Let's see here. I'm going to say he knows how to drive.
He knows how to drive? I like that.
Let's see here. He probably doesn't know much about weaponry or firearms. Or he's a teacher. I'm hoping he doesn't know about larceny. That's not what you want your teacher... He probably does from being a teenager.
Well, at the same time, if we give him a shot in firearms, while he has no direct reason to it, this goes into his background. Maybe he grew up in the country.
Well, he is a college professor. He's a college professor at Arkham. Maybe he's a member of the gun club or something.
Right, so I'd say a dot in firearms, just to give him a dot in something useful.
Yeah, and since he is physically weak,
he'd be more likely to defend himself with a
gun than a knife or his fist. Do note that firearms would also include something like a taser, or like not only does it include the average firearm, but it also includes tasers and like stuff like flamethrowers. Although we're not giving him a flamethrower, it is just a note. Whereas weaponry would include most melee objects, short of brass knuckles and gloves that would just improve your punching power.
Yes.
Now, 2 more skills. Let's see here. He's a teacher. He's kind of old. Let's maybe give him 1 point in athletics. He does his morning walks, morning jogs.
Okay. He's worried about his fitness.
Yeah, he's getting to that age where if you don't keep physically fit, you're hurting in the morning.
Yeah.
And well, maybe we can give him some larceny. Maybe he did some shoplifting when he was a kid.
Maybe not even shoplifting. Maybe he knows how to break into houses to steal rare occult books.
Yes, or in fact, even at that same point, ghost hunters, a lot of them aren't allowed into houses. So maybe he is breaking into these houses in order to record the findings and try to prove his occult theories.
Yeah, so give him an initial point in larceny.
Let's see here. Now for social.
Well, 1, he's going to have some points in persuasion.
Yes.
He's going to be really good at fairly well at persuading his students to learn things that they don't want to.
Yeah, and we already established that he's good at manipulating people. Persuasion and intimidation are 2 forms of manipulation.
Let's give him at least 1 in empathy.
Okay, at least 1 in empathy.
Now, that's 4?
4 of the 7. We have 3 left. Let's see. We're not going to give him a point in socialize specifically because we established, although he wants to be social, he actually lacks the presence and he lacks the ability.
Actually, let's go back up and look at those attributes again. Let's see. He's got 2 dots in presence. We could actually perhaps get away with taking away 1 of those points. and putting it in composure.
Okay.
Because he's such a big student of the occult, like, these things just popping out at him aren't going to drive him insane, even though he's never seen one yet.
Yeah. Makes sense, makes sense.
And then whenever we go down, he's not social at all.
Bit.
He wants to be. He can talk to people, but he's not popular.
Yeah, he's at that point where if you get him started, he can keep talking, but he's nervous. He might not be able to physically. So let's see here. Maybe a little bit streetwise. We've established he does know maybe some basic pickpocketing, maybe some basic lockpicking. So let's give him some streetwise. Just maybe he knows.
He knows who to talk to get the stuff, so that nobody has to know he has it.
Yeah, and we've also basically established he's sneaking into houses and stuff to record occult. So he'd be able to talk not only to the local papers and stuff to find out but also the people.
So we got 2 more points to spread around. Let's, for the sake of having somebody fun to roleplay, let's give him those 2 points in Animal Ken.
Yes, this could be something as simple. These 2 points in Animal Ken could be as simple as he owns a couple of dogs, or maybe he grew up with some farm animals,
or maybe he's really good at calming some people down.
Yes, Animal Ken.
Animals.
Although it does say animal, the same knowledge can be used to calming down an animal is the exact same role as calming down a person. So you're trying to take down their animal instincts, their rage. You can use Animal Kin to calm down a person or to enrage a person, in fact, if that's your goal.
Yes.
Now, as we move on to merits. Merits are mostly considered as, in this term, they'd be the backgrounds for most other characters. Later on, you'll see as we go on to other forms, vampires, werewolves, and all those, the merits and flaws will be their own section, which will give counterintuitive and positive feedback to each other.
Most definitely.
But for now, merits would include your backgrounds. So, we have, scroll down a little bit, 7 points to spend in merits.
So, random question in case they've never looked at their book. Where would you tell them to look at to find information on merits in the book?
If you're using the old World of Darkness, nope, I am using the classic World of Darkness from the 93, I believe. This is not the second revision or the 20th edition. This is just the original core rulebook. It is on page 34.
Alright, thank you.
It's actually rather interesting because every other rulebook has a set for these. It goes through and these are the backgrounds, and it explains them, whereas this one, it gives you their names and how much they cost, but it does not actually force the explanations onto you. So it is a great place you can just look at. You're like, oh, look here, I can fighting style Kung Fu. I have 1 point in Kung Fu, which means I have basic Kung Fu knowledge. And basically the same concepts.
Obviously, Stedwart does not know Kung Fu.
I hope not. Let's see.
Maybe he took jiu-jitsu in high school, though.
He might have taken some form of karate in high school, but since we're not putting anything into his brawl,
right?
If he did, he sucks at it. So, let's see here. We can look at some of his mental merits. Maybe give him something to the extent of meditative mind. Allows him to meditate and reflect on himself.
That would explain, too, his composure.
Yes, so... just give him meditate here.
Although, have you ever noticed that everybody's handwriting sucks when they're writing with a computer mouse?
Not everybody's. I've seen some people who are very good at it.
That should be its own skill.
Yes, that should definitely be a skill. Meditate is actually only costs 1 point to go into, which makes it very, very simple to understand. Let's see. As for physical traits, he is not very good with fighting. He doesn't really have any power in, like, knowledge of weapons or how to disarm somebody of their weapons. So maybe something close to... I want to say possibly, although I will definitely need your bankrupt on this.
Okay.
Iron Stomach.
Iron Stomach.
He is a student of the occult, which would mean he has traveled the world looking at the occult, including witch doctors and other forms of magic.
Yes.
Which would include herbal remedies, such as swallowing frog testicles.
You know what? Yes, Iron Stomach.
Okay, Iron Stomach is a 2-point cost. So, let's give him Iron.
Iron Tongue! Ah!
Now, yes, these aren't... I'm just typing those in because I am writing with a mouse, so it does become a bit difficult to get long things in very short.
That's what she said.
Now, for social merits, like we have said, he tries to be a socialite. We have 4 points left. Let me darken those a little bit more. So, let's see here. He is a teacher, so I would guess definitely has resources.
Yes.
So, it's just going to put money.
Money.
Resources in the World of Darkness mostly account for money, but they also would account for your where you live and possibly even your vehicle. But this one has the ability to gain its dots as you see fit. So you can have 1 to 5 dots in your resources. So instead of taking that, what I'm going to do is, since he is also a teacher, I'd say he might have some social status in the area, right?
At least on the around the college grounds and campus.
So I'm going to give him some status as well.
He's a bit strange, so nobody really likes him, but he has everybody's
people recognize
respect.
him. People recognize him. So we're going to give him 1 point. 1 point status means you're local. Like you might be a local news anchor. People know about you, but you're not exactly well known. They know about you. They don't know you. So, since we have 4 points spent already, I'm going to give him 3 points in resources. This will give him... I am just kind of eyeballing this. I believe 3 points in resources will give you roughly around $2,000 a month in your spending budget. This is after the bills. It also should give you the ability to live in a moderate house. 3-bedroom, 2-bath.
Yes, drive a nice car. He could probably get away with a Jaguar.
Yeah, he could probably get away with a nice little sports car, though he's more likely probably driving like an average sedan. But it is possible that he could be driving something. So we'll get into that. Actually, with this one, we're using only the 1-page sheet, so we're not going to be going into the equipment or anything major like that. But for role-playing standards, we would. Let's say maybe he owns a Jaguar.
Why wouldn't he?
Actually, I'd go as far as to say he owns an import Jaguar. He got a good deal.
Yes.
Investigating some ghost over in Guam.
Yeah, that works. Okay.
Okay, now for flaws.
Now, flaws are physical issues within the character. These are things that affect his day-to-day life. In an extreme example, somebody without an arm would have the flaw of 1 arm. Somebody who was blind would have the blind flaw.
Yes, and being blind, you want to be able to see. You would still be able to perceive things through your hearing and all that, but you wouldn't be able to have visual confirmation of something. The same as the guy with 1 arm. His other arm, he could still be just as strong because his other arm might make up for it, but if he's going to wrestle somebody, he has the disadvantage there because he is missing an arm.
So, going through with our idea of having the Stedwart, the occult professor at Arkham University, what kind of flaws would he have?
He is a professor, so he probably doesn't have that much in the way of... How would I say this? He probably doesn't have that much in the way of stuff wrong with him.
Right.
So...
For the sake of roleplay, we should maybe give him one flaw.
Well, of course, he will have flaws. But, well, we've noticed that he's getting into athletics, but he is physically weak, so maybe he's overweight.
Okay, I can see that.
So...
E-I.
No. I am the storyteller, I am God in my universe. I comes before E.
Overweight? Okay.
Yes.
He's overly white. That cracker.
I blame dyslexia. Now, so he's overweight. So what I'm gonna say is overweight would give him a minus in all of his athletics. So he wouldn't really have any trouble doing athletics, but it will make them harder to do. So if he's gonna run a mile, instead of rolling a 4, he'd have to roll a 5. Or when he's done with it, he might be out of breath. If he's at the same time, I'll also give you a benefit. If you can get on top of someone while brawling them, I'll give you some bonus points because you might be able to crush them.
Let's give him chronic sniffles.
Why are we giving him chronic sniffles?
Well, I don't really know, but I think it'd be fun to play a character with chronic sniffles.
Okay, so are we talking chronic sniffles?
You're like, anyway, so today...
Are we talking chronic sniffles as in allergies, or are we talking chronic sniffles as recovering cocaine addict?
Well, allergies can be treated. It'd be something that just, like, nothing ever changes about it, but he doesn't have any prior drug use.
So maybe like maybe he's pissed off the occult. Maybe he got like a haunting.
Perhaps. It's just not something he really has ever gotten an explanation for.
So let's give him a... Let's give him a sniffle ghost.
For the record, because I'd like to play a character like that, is a valid reason to add a flaw.
Yes. Now, of course, you will have to ask your storyteller, get permission if you're going to make up. There are ones in the book, which would include the one eye, bad vision. So make sure you ask your storyteller before you add private ones, because he might have ideas on how they'd work that are different from yours. Let's say overweight, you think that it means that you wouldn't be able to run as far, and he takes that overweight means that you have to eat more. Those are two very different things that would have two very, very different consequences and role-playing factors.
Yes.
Now, for size, let's see. The size is your 5. But, as you can see here, size does have to do with health.
Size does matter.
One of the flaws could be being short. So you change your size to 4. So as you can see, that would actually matter. So we're going to give him 5, because that's what we were told to do. For speed, let's see here. Going to come down here. Speed is equal to your strength plus your dexterity. So his strength is 2, his dexterity is 2. Then we'll add 5, so his speed is 9. And this is basically how it is. Initiative mod, as you can see here, dexterity plus composure. So 2 plus 4. And does that have... No, that does not have a bonus, so like we said that was 6?
Yes.
Okay. Now, we haven't gained any experience, but we do start with a morality of 7.
This is the starting morality for all humans. However, if somebody was a serial killer character,
they'd probably start lower.
Yes.
The same as if somebody was a priest, they could, in theory, go higher.
Yes, they could actually start out with 10.
If you were the Pope, you could start off with 10.
No. If they were a saint.
Yes, 10 is actually known as saintly. It is very, very hard to get. Basically, you can't think of anything evil. You don't think of evil. You are good in all aspects. If you see a lady drop a penny, you go out of your way, risking life, injury, and possibly even being slapped by this lady, to reach down, pick up that penny, and say, "Ma'am, you dropped this penny." Now,
I'd pocket it.
well, you're not a 10. Now, for health, health is stamina plus size, so we have 2 plus, so 7, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm just gonna scribble through there. Willpower is resolve plus composure. 1 resolve, and again, so we have 5 willpower. Now, what this means is you're moderately healthy. You can take a couple of punches. A shot to your chest is going to kill you, but at the same note, somebody punching you probably is not going to bother you so much. Whereas willpower, you're strong mentally. So if, let's say there's something you're afraid of, you can use your you can spend willpower to push on.
Yes.
Now, let's see here. We don't have any defense or armors yet. So let's give him a weapon. Let's give him some armor.
Let's give him some armor. Okay.
Let's give him a nice leather jacket.
Nice leather jacket. I can see
So
that.
a nice leather. Let's see here. So leather is +1 defense and -0 penalty. So we're gonna give defense is currently +1. So what this means is that if somebody rolls an attack, you have the right to roll a defense dice. Every defense dice you roll has a or if you pass your defense roll, you can block one attack. I believe that stamina, like defense blocks, are actually stamina plus your defense, but that would depend on the actual book. Different books do it different ways because humans aren't. A human with high stamina isn't going to be able to deflect a bullet, whereas a vampire with low stamina can take a bullet to the head and be like, "Did I just get bit by a mosquito?" So different role books have different roles for that. So you'd want to sit there and look up your own role book and ask your storyteller how they're going to pull it. A lot of storytellers I know have actually take out the defense rating because it is
Worthless?
It's pretty much worthless. It basically says, "Hey, by the way, there's a chance that this werewolf could have bit you in the neck, and you didn't take a single point of damage."
Kind of matters when you're LARPing a bit more.
Yes, if you're LARPing or doing something big and elaborate, it is important. But as far as we're going for a normal roleplay, it's really not. It's like adding magical enchantments to a D&D armor.
Or encumbrance.
Or encumbrance. Now, weapons.
Couldn't take that skull my ass.
Let's see here. I actually have a weapon written down that a friend of mine uses. So, let's give him a 38 special.
Yeah.
I ruined my 8. There we go, it's a little better.
Should make it a Ruger?
No, just 38 special.
No, yeah, but the Ruger model.
I know, but I'm not going to go into that right now. If you're going to RP it, what you want to make sure you do is set out its caliber, and then you can actually go in and actually do names, models. It could be a personal make. It all depends. But you want to set out the caliber because the books will go into caliber size.
Matters for damage.
As it matters for the damage. Now, for the 38 special does a dice mod of +4. So it does 4 damage mod, or it can damage you 4 times. Now, more stats that don't show up here that would be important are that a 38 special has a range of 15, has a rate of fire of 3 rounds, its clip size is 6, and it can be concealed in a pocket, as compared to, say, a 12-gauge double-barrel shotgun has a damage mod of 8, has a range of 20, but its rate of fire and clip size are both only 2.
And it's kind of hard to hide.
It cannot
in a pocket.
Yes, it cannot be concealed by anything short of a trench coat, and even then, you're pushing it.
I could probably conceal it in some pants pockets if I could adjust them.
You could, but you would have to go into extra lengths to it. With this concealment we're talking about, I picked this thing up at the store, put it in my pocket, no one sees it.
Right.
So, you could make some extra efforts to hide it, and that'd be possible.
Okay, so, next we're going to go for the equipment.
Yes.
Now, equipment, this really is going to be extraordinarily simple. This is, like, basic, like, well, he kind of always has this on him.
Yes, always has it on him or around him. It might be in his car, but it's around. So,
let's give him...
I think a lockpicking set.
A lockpicking set?
So,
yes.
I'll give him a lockpick.
And we should make special note, regardless of whether it works in the story or not, he should carry around some kind of religious token of his faith.
Let's see here. Well, maybe not a token of his faith. Maybe more of like a...
Well, like he could carry a crucifix around with him.
Yeah, maybe.
At all times.
I was actually thinking maybe kind of like a ward.
Like a ward?
Yeah, maybe like maybe some type of ward.
Maybe
have
yeah.
a... Yeah.
I can see that. Well, so he needs something that he could like basically throw in the ghosts and stuff spaces and be like, get away from me, the power of Christ compels you.
Yes, protection, not condoms.
But those are important too.
Yes, especially for your mistress. So a protection necklace. So we haven't talked about his race yet, or his faith yet, because as we've said before, the storyteller Christianity might not exist, but it could have an equivalent of Bobism. So he has a protection necklace that will protect him. So dice mod, let's say this will give him plus 1 defense against supernatural creatures.
Alright.
So supernatural attacks might have a +1. And lockpicking, let's say a lockpick will give him +3 to lockpicking. Since he doesn't actually have any, or he has a little bit in larceny, only 1 point. So this will give him +3, which will give him 4 dice whenever he's going to pick a lock.
Okay.
So we have our character. We have Stedwart. He is a 35-year-old college professor. He is hopeful, but he has a secret lust. He is smarter than the average person and much wittier than the average person, but mentally he's pretty set in his ways. Anything that shakes his mental beliefs pretty much shakes him.
Yes.
In strength, in his physical abilities, he is average strong, average dexterity,
average stamina. He does a little bit of working out. He's actually, with him being overweight, really that's where all his issues come in. Yes. with his physical abilities.
Now, for his social, he doesn't have a lot of presence. Remember, we took that 1 point away from his presence, so he has less presence than the average person. He forgets to shave every once in a while. He wears the same clothes mostly. Like, he wears basically the same type of clothes all the time. So he doesn't have a lot of variation in his repertoire. But he doesn't look like crap. Let's just put it that way. For manipulation, he is very good at turning a conversation his way. And for composure, someone could basically throw a bucket of manure on him and he'd be fine.
He'd be like, okay, let me wipe my face off. Hey, by the way, everybody should laugh at this loser, and everybody does.
Yes. Now, for his skills, he is a teacher. He has gone through school. He is very good with education, which would also mean he is good at going to look up and research things.
Yes.
He is relatively well with computers. He can watch YouTube. He can look up his email, but he is a 35-year-old man who's just getting into computers. Investigation. He basically the same with academics and research, but a little more real world. He can look around and see things. This could be great for Occult. He goes to investigate a ghost story and be like, no, what it is you have a squeaky board.
Yep.
Medicine. basic first aid. He can rip a shirt up and stop bleeding, but he's not performing a tracheometry in the middle of a car crash. He has a lot of knowledge in the occult, so he understands ghosts, werewolves, vampires.
This goes back to, obviously, because he teaches the occult at Arkham University.
Yes. And for science, he does have some basic beliefs on science.
Nothing he sees has has canceled out any known scientific laws. Everything he knows about the occult, or believes about it to be real, fits in with basic scientific principles.
Yes. Swamp gas and other things such as that. Now, for crafts, he is horrible at that. He can't even build a birdhouse.
Nope.
And politics, he don't give two shits. He doesn't care who the president is as long as they don't raise his taxes. He's the average person.
Yep.
For physical, he has a little bit of athletics. He can jog. He does his jogging. He's gonna be winded because he's overweight, but he does jog. He can keep up if he has to chase someone down, as long as they don't move at supernatural speeds. Drive. He can drive a car without crashing it. If it gets choppy, he might not be able to keep up, but on general conditions, he can drive relatively well. Same with firearms. He can shoot a standing target, no problem.
Yep.
Moving, he's never tried it. Larceny, he can shoplift from a gas station, no problem. Pick simple locks that people don't really care about. He's probably not going to be able to break into a house that people live in, but
Right.
he could try. Now for brawling, he's almost more likely to punch himself in the face than punch you. For stealth, even though if you notice, he doesn't really have a lot of dexterity, so he might just trip over himself and make a lot of noise. Survival, he lives in society. He probably wouldn't be able to live off the land if he had to. And weaponry. He doesn't really know how to swing a sword or a hammer or anything like that. He probably understands the basic where to hold it, but that's about it. Now, for social, he has 2 points in animal kin. This would give him about the knowledge that he could pick up a random dog from the store or maybe a pound and housebreak it within a month.
Or even possibly less, depending on the dog.
Yes.
Empathy, he's actually got some pretty decent skills. He's good at reading people. He's not great at it. He's not really good at it, but he can look and go beyond, well, this person's crying. They're obviously upset. He can be like, well, this person looks like they're about to cry. They need a hug. Let me hug them.
Yes. Expression, he doesn't really express himself very well. This could be that he laughs at funerals, or it could just be something as simple as sometimes he talks too loud. But yeah, he just doesn't express himself very well. Intimidation, he's a little bit scary.
Maybe because of his social awkwardness when it comes to certain things, or
Yeah.
maybe he's just good at manipulating you into being afraid.
Yes. Now with persuasion, at the same time, he's kind of socially awkward. He can kind of get you to talk about stuff that you normally wouldn't talk to because you kind of have that thought that maybe he's mentally retarded or something.
See, or maybe you just don't notice him, he kind of fades into the background, but he's really good at making you come around to his point of view.
Yes. With Streetwise, he knows who to talk to get certain things. He's not sitting there making a $1,000 drug deal, but he knows well enough he can talk to the right people to get information.
He knows how to work on the black market.
Yes. Now, for his socialize, he is horrible at socializing. He is socially awkward. And for subterfuge, this would include lying and stuff. He has a major tell. Something like every time he goes to tell a lie, one of his eyes starts winking. Something obvious.
Maybe that's where the sniffles come from.
Possibly. Sorry. He can meditate. He has basic skills in meditating. This is the generalized. He can.
Wusa.
Yeah, he's not really sitting there doing some Buddhist meditating or anything like that, but he can take a breath, step out of things. He has an iron stomach. This gives him the ability to eat a lot of things. It's at level 2, or it's a level 2 skill, so it's generally better than his meditating. He could eat hot stuff, not be bothered by it. He could eat stuff with a bad taste, not vomit.
Yeah.
Money. For his resources, he's a well-paid teacher.
Yeah.
He's probably about as well-paid as Indiana Jones. So he could probably do about if he can write it off as a school trip, he can get his occult vacations, write it off that he's going there for his research. He could literally pull an Indiana Jones.
Yes.
At the same time, his status is a 1. He is known around his campus, but he's not he's more of people know about him, but they don't know him personally.
Right.
He's slightly overweight, and he has a sniffles ghost.
Sniffle ghost. Yes. Yes, he does. He was haunted once back in Albuquerque. We don't like to talk about it.
Now,
his size is 5. This is the average size for a human. He's not overly tall, overly big. He's not overly small either. He's probably 6 foot, 250 pounds.
Something like that, yeah. Maybe, I'd say probably around 5'10".
5'10", 250? Okay.
For his size, his speed is 9. This means that... this one's a little bit hard to tell. It really determines on the size of the board you're using. But average squares are about either 5 to 10 feet, or 5 feet. Or, so, let's see, 5 feet, that's about 45 feet in a minute. That's not too bad. It's not a lot. I think that'd be about average, right? I think that's about average speed for a normal person.
Yeah.
His initiative is 6.
Means he actually gets a +6 to any initiative roll that he makes.
Yes. This also means that his ranking in combat would be his roll is a 6 for combat. So if somebody has a lower roll than him, they go after him. Somebody who has a higher initiative mod would go faster than him.
Yep.
His defense is +1 because of his leather armor. He has a 38 special, which can damage you up to 4 times. He has a lockpick, which will help him pick locks. And he has a necklace of protection, which gives him +1 to supernatural defense. He has 7 health. Note that the dice roll, the dice mod for the weapon damage, can hurt you up to 4 times. So when you roll a dice, you roll to see if you hit, then you roll 4 damage dice. If those hit, you can be damaged up to 4 times. Sometimes none of them will hit, sometimes all of them will hit. And a good storyteller will, hey, you shot this guy, roll damage dice. Oh, you hit him for 4, you got a nice clean shot in the chest. Oh, you only were able to get 1 damage. It hit his shoulder. You bounced off the bone, it hurt him, but it did no serious damage.
Yeah.
For willpower, you got 5 willpower. He is up there. He thinks he's the shit. He can kind of be oh, some guy's shooting at me. I'm gonna go buckle down. Meditate would also help with this. I'm gonna buckle down a little bit. I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna shoot back at him. For morality, you're about a 7. This is average for a human. You don't like killing people. You don't like stealing things. But if it has to be done, you will do it. And this is a character. This is Xavier Stedwart.
Xavier Stedwart.
And
we're proud to meet you. Have a wonderful time fighting monsters and shit.
Yes. I hope this helped anybody who's trying to make a character. If there's anything that needs to be clarified, we can clarify this a little more. This is one of the only sheets that we do not have on an interactive PDF, so we had to use it in Paint. I do apologize for that. Most of the others will be on an interactive PDF where we will be able to edit it and work with it a little bit better and a lot neater. So, have a wonderful day.